When Lumix announced the S1rii, I thought it was a perfect camera to upgrade from the S5ii for my video production work. The two main reasons I upgraded was for better low light and for 4K 60 without a crop. Immediately after getting the camera, which I purchased with my own money, I fell in love with it. The low light was definitely better than the S5ii and was one of the main reasons I wanted to upgrade. What I wasn't expecting was how much I would like the updated autofocus, stabilization, addition of false color, better body design, a better LCD, and the LCD that flips and tilts out, and most of all was the image. The image definitely had some magic to it. To this day, the S1rii has my favorite image quality over any of the Lumix cameras currently. But after receiving this camera, I put it through its paces with a bunch of jobs and I started noticing some cons about it. The first thing was the battery life. The battery life is absolutely awful compared to the S5ii. That was something that I thought wouldn't be as big of a deal, but as I was using it more and more, I noticed it was a really big pain in the ass. I ended up getting a camera grip and it still ate through batteries. The camera grip did help, but I still noticed how much I was switching out batteries. A lot of my work is long form content. I actually took this camera out for a full 4-day workshop and a couple weddings right off the bat within like 2 weeks of owning it, and I really noticed the battery life doing long form content. The rolling shutter in this camera isn't great. More and more in my business, I'm using anamorphic lenses, and with anamorphic lenses, you really notice the rolling shutter way more than you do in a 16:9 deliverable. So even though the image out of this camera is one of my favorite out of any Lumix camera that I've used, one of the issues that I had was color matching. So yes, can you color match this camera to an S9, S1H, S5ii, S5ii X? Absolutely. But because in our production company, we generally use 3 to 6 camera angles for most of our projects, having to color match your A-cam to all those camera angles is just a time suck. And when we have a lot of projects in the pipeline and I'm trying to edit as quickly as possible to get them out in reasonable delivery times, having to color match is just another step that makes the whole process take longer, which costs us more money. So in short, can you color match it? Absolutely. Is it a little bit more work? Yes. For me, streamlining things is always a #1 priority for my business. So then a little over a month later, I got word of the S1ii being released, and I started hearing how it was more of a video focused camera. So I was very intrigued. So I ended up ordering 2 of them. So when I heard it did open gate, 60 frames a second, it had better low light than the S1rii, and a faster readout speed. And the most important thing for me, and the biggest con, was the battery life. The S1ii claimed to have better battery life than the S1rii. So when I got the 2 S1iis, I did prefer the image out of the S1rii, I'm not gonna lie, but I noticed I was picking up the S1iis more and more for A-cams. And over time, the S1rii sat on my shelf and started collecting dust. So even though the S1rii had great low light capabilities, I'm guessing it's attributed to the higher megapixel count, which hides noise patterns. I noticed that the second dual native ISO of 5000 was a lot more practical for the work that I do. A lot of my work is run and gun. I'm doing a lot of events, I'm doing a lot of corporate work, and we don't always have time to light things properly. And I just found that 5000 was a usable, cleaner ISO. I rarely go over 5000, and when I do, it's still usable. Then the Nikon ZR was announced, and that also sparked my interest. I have other videos talking about the Nikon ZR and why I bought it, but I knew since I wasn't using the S1rii and I was interested in using the Nikon ZR for narrative work and for my wife as a second shooter, I figured it was a good time to put the S1rii on the secondhand market while the prices were still good for it. I ended up selling the camera within a week, only lost a few $100s, which I made back in production anyways with the camera. So now on to why I'm making this video. A couple days ago, a client reached out wanting to get vertical cuts of a wedding we shot earlier last year. And as I was going through the footage, all of it was shot on the S1rii. I had this sort of nostalgia for the image of the S1rii, and it kind of sparked my idea to make this video to talk about it. I have had some people on YouTube reach out and want me to do some more S1rii versus S1ii, S1H, different tests, Nikon ZR, but since I don't have it, I wanted to kind of explain. And for people on the fence of which one they wanted to get, to kind of get another perspective now that this camera's been out for 10 months or so. Like I said, this camera's been out for a little more than 10 months and it's had a couple firmware updates, so it's kind of a different camera now. With that, I'd like to go over who I think this camera's for in 2026. If you do a lot of video content and don't use a lot of camera bodies, so you're not gonna have to match this to other cameras much, and you're not working in really hot climates with long takes all the time, I think this camera is excellent. Especially if you do hybrid work and you do, let's say 40 or 50% photo. I think this is a great hybrid camera, and the image is, to me, still unmatched out of any Lumix camera currently. Obviously, that's my personal opinion. If you rent one, I think you'll know what I'm talking about. This camera still performs against its competition really well. It still has more features than most cameras in its price range or cameras that are more expensive. I've also seen this camera go on sale multiple times since its release, and just like I sold it on the used market, you could always pick up a used one that's probably in pretty good shape because it hasn't been out that long. I've seen this camera on the used market for $2,700 to $2,900, which is a steal for what this camera can do. Now, if you're heavier on the video side and you have other Lumix cameras that you want to pair this with, I think it's worth spending the extra $100 for the S1 II. I think if you shoot in warmer climates and do a lot of work in direct sun for long takes, I also think the S1 II is better at thermal management, especially with the new update. For video shooters who shoot in more challenging lighting, I think the S1 II has a better usable ISO range. The S1 II still is pretty excellent in low light. I just think the ranges with the dual native ISOs are more practical with the S1 II. Also, if you're a heavy anamorphic shooter or open gate shooter, I think the S1 II is excellent because it's got a faster readout speed on top of doing 4K 60 in open gate. More and more we've been shooting in open gate for paid projects, so it just makes sense to be able to have stuff we can slow down when we need to. Yes, the S1R2 does deliver a sharper, crisper image, but if you're looking for something a little softer or you want to add an optical low pass filter, Kalari now offers optical low pass filters that you can clip in to your S1 II, and that was one of the reasons why I ordered them, and I'm excited to use them on the S1 IIs. I do like that image that I get from the S1H, and I kind of want to mimic that softness while still keeping the detail on my S1 IIs. Now, as far as I know, I don't think you can use an optical low pass filter in the S1R2, even if it's an external clip-in one. I believe the megapixels are too high, but I could be wrong. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong. In conclusion, do I regret selling the S1R2? A little bit. I do like the camera, but practically me keeping it didn't make any sense. If it's sitting on my shelf and I'm not using it, I usually don't want to keep it. Gear can build up really quickly and space is limited. I mean, my desk is a mess right now, covered in lenses and different gear. But I will say every time I look over my S1R2 footage, it has some kind of saturation to it that I can't seem to get out of the S1 II, or doesn't feel as easily obtainable. I think it's because it uses the AK Ronin 4D sensor, which is a cinema sensor, and just whatever Lumix magic color science they did with the S1R2, it has something to it that I've never gotten from a Lumix camera. Now, is it worth all the trade-offs? Maybe, depending on your situation, like I said earlier. Me personally, the S1 IIs made more sense practically. The image is 99% of what I wanted from the S1R2. It's just that 1% of special sauce that I miss. With all the other compromises for my business and my work, it didn't really make sense. I feel like we're in a place with Lumix where all their newer cameras are pretty great. From the S5 II to the S5 IIX to the S9, the S1R2, the S1 II, the S1 IIe, they're all capable, incredible tools. All these cameras give you incredible results at a very competitive price compared to its competition. I feel like this is a really exciting time to be a Lumix shooter. I haven't felt this excited about Lumix since the release of the GH5. Thank you for tuning into this video. I know I've been MIA for the last couple months and posting here and there. It's literally been the busiest last quarter of my business ever. I'm very thankful for the work, but I definitely miss jumping on YouTube and uploading some videos. I miss the community online. As my business is settling down in the beginning of the year, I do have a bunch of videos in the pipeline, so I will be uploading soon. Thank you for watching, and until the next time.